Hello everybody. Today what we're going to go over is how to create a light emitting TSO 3DO for use in a track for the NASCAR Racing 2003 simulation. Okay, what we're going to start off with, object we already have made here, which is set up to be used in a day track. This is a good starting point to go by. That way you've got two, essentially when you get your light emitting object created, you'll have two light fixtures that are essentially the same, albeit one for day track, one for night. It's the best approach to take, I guess, in doing this. So you create an object that's be used for day track. And this will have no light emitting properties whatsoever, obviously. And what I'll do now is we'll go ahead and apply all the things needed to make this usable in a night track. So what we'll do is I have texture here. Go ahead and apply our texture. We have our night texture for it, which has the glow effect for the light source actually is from applied to it, and I've made this based on the day texture for the same fixture as shown here. With that applied, you'll then need to go and make a source, a box, an untextured box from where the light source will originate from. To do that, already got that made here. You create a box, as I said, an untextured box that is basically in close proximity of where the light source would come to. One thing to keep in mind, if you're going to use the glow effect that is applied in the script, in this case here we have canceled that out. If you're going to use the glow function to have the glow ball applied to your object, you want to keep in mind that this bounding box, as far as the source of your light, needs to be, it cannot be like this. If you put it like this, your glow ball will not show. Because essentially what happens is your glow ball ends up being centered within this bounding box that you create as far as your source of light. So in all directions from front to back, top to bottom, it'll center that right in that box. That's something to keep in mind when you apply your bounding box for your source of light for your fixture. But as I mentioned, what we've done for this particular object is canceled out the glow ball together to apply a fabricated glow. And I'll show that. Go ahead and unhide that. This is our fabricated glow. Let's turn off the bounding box for a second. And this is the fabricated glow, so this will replace the glow ball, as I like to call it, that is produced when you apply a value to the glow function in the script. So that is roughly how this will look. It will be a lot softer edge, and then I'll show that how that's applied, being in sandbox and also in the game in a moment. But that's basically all you do. I won't go into details. Just assume you creating your whatever type of fixture that you want to use has already been done prior to this. So we'll go ahead and hide bounding box. So we have all of our pieces. Applied like so. Now what I'm going to go ahead and do is create our pass files. And there will be essentially two separate pass files for this application because of the fabricated glow. So what we'll end up doing is let's highlight the glow. We'll go ahead and delete it. Save this as a pass file, just like this is with this bounding box included with your fixture. Create a pass file for that. What we've done here. Okay, we'll do an undo, bring that back, and we'll go ahead and remove the bounding box and the fixture itself. Leave just the glow. Save that as a pass file, which we've already done that as well. Here. And for this texture, I guess we'll go into a little bit more depth. For this texture here, you obviously want to have an alpha channel applied to it so that it applies transparency to it. And go into how you can do that. This is the texture that I've used. I've had a black background with this. You can tell by the texture there it has a soft edge on it. So in order to remove the black out of this, this is what we want to accomplish. In order to do that, save this initial texture. We'll use this as an example. Save this as initially as a bitmap. Then open that into WinMip2 utility. Select it as a TGA. Choose your transparent color in the image. In this case, it's black. By pressing the shift, the color, and that'll bring up the invisible color. Which it does save that as a TGA, and what that will do is you'll save your TGA as to include an alpha channel. It's done here, and that's how you would apply this in Max for your object in Max here. Once you load this into Max, it'll automatically have under the image source this will already be pre-selected as an image alpha. This is how you'll know that the transparency in the alpha channel has been saved correctly by this being selected in here. So once that's done, you now have, you can select, save this as a pass file. As I already shown, we've done that. But just to ensure that your texture will have that. And that is important to have the texture with the transparency in here when you export your pass file. Otherwise, this model, if you don't do that, it will not have transparency in there. This black will actually show. You won't get the soft edge in there, so that's probably a fair mention there. Okay, so we'll go ahead and bring all this back. We have our pass files. Go back into here. Here's me a second. Okay, so we got our pass files, our texture for the fixture itself, our glow, and our script. Copy that to our Make3DO directory. Place those in here. We'll then want to run a command prompt and point it to the Make3DO directory where these items here are involved, are located. From there you want to type in Make3DO, which is the application itself, your -s, which is for the script, and then the name of your script, .psg. We don't have any other parameters in this particular object. As for like environment map, what have you, so we can essentially press enter. That will produce our 3DO, which is right here, where we can put that into our track we wish to apply it to. Done that here. Then go into our track. Already got these placed. Go to object view, select item. And there's our object. You can see how the glow is applied appropriately. We have our soft edge, so we know that our transparency has been applied. Got on both front and back sides. And this particular object also has a population switch in here, and I'm going to go over that script now a little bit more in detail before I go any further. And I've explained this in a couple other tutorials that go over scripting, namely for an animated object. So if I skip over anything, you can refer to that one in the SBP how-to channel. So what you have essentially here is we have a lights min, which allows us to apply an empty mesh, and that gets applied later on in our population switch container. We have our light group, which has our light fixture itself to include the source, the point light, the source of our light, the bounding box, the untextured box there. And then we have our glow, our fabricated glow. The next few lines here involves the bounding box itself. We've defined, this is the mesh from the light group. You want to call out the box part of that pass file here to say this is where our light source is coming from. So this is where we call that up. And this container is saying we want this to be a bounding box. Use the box mesh for our bounding box, this BB box function. Okay, from there, taking our light box, using a point light function, taking the bound box container that has the BB box already applied, and then this is where you apply your parameters for the ambient strength, the intensity, and your glow function, which I mentioned earlier, the glow function has been canceled out in this particular object. We're not going to use it. These values here, as far as the 100.0 and the 5.0, pertain to the ambient strength and the intensity of the glow of the light source itself, as far as, call it the wattage of the bulb, for example. You can play with these values as you choose, I guess, to get the effect that you're looking for. These numbers here seem to work very well for this type of fixture. Putting that in multiplicity, I guess, around the track there, it creates a magnified effect. Let's put it that way, as far as how. So, moving further, we're going to take, since we have their two separate pieces here, we want to combine those. So we're using container TSO with the function group, taking our light mesh, our light box, and our light glow, and combining those all together as defined up here earlier. Moving down to a population switch container, and using the state switch variable population. And we're applying 0, which is off by depress of the O key in game, and 1 is for on. For off, we're using lights min as we defined up here earlier, which is just the empty mesh, what we'll show. And when it's on, it'll use the TSO, which is our grouped object here. So it'll show everything together when it's on. From there, we output our 3DO using the output function. And we're going to use the population switch container, which has everything in it that we've done above this particular line. So everything that has been done in, up to this point will be included in the final 3DO, and you will name that here within quotes, whichever you choose. And that is what we had already ran through our make 3DO utility, and that's what it produced our 3DO. So from there you can then take your 3DO with your accompanying MIP textures and apply those to the track that you choose. You're done here. We'll go back to our track. We've got those applied. We've already gone around the entire interior and field of this particular track and applied our light fixtures. So with those all applied, we can then go and use a couple of different approaches here. You can either go ahead and save that PTF if that's the only object that you're applying is your lighting. You can save the PTF, put the PTF in there, and name it the same as your track folder, which you're putting it into, with the items that you've just created, as far as your 3DO and your accompanying MIPs. Or you could go ahead and DAT your track up, based and use the make DAT utility. Another video I have created in the SPP video channel in the how-tos. As far as packing and unpacking a track, you can watch that at your leisure. You can use one of those two approaches to applying the items to your track. So once those are in your track that you want to test, we can go into the game, load the track to which you've got those applied. We'll go into that. Let's click on drive. Okay. Now what we will do, we'll zoom on over to our light that we have applied to this track. And there it is. See how the alpha, the transparency of the glow, is actually applied very nicely. You have a nice soft edge. Looks much better than the glow of the game. Using the glow property, I guess, via the script. Go back here, we have some objects in here that have the older glow ball. Get the sense of the differences here. The cities here have the glow ball applied to it. Be there. So just a different approach to take in using a fabricated glow as opposed to the glow ball to your light fixture. Set that. Oh, one thing I did forget to show there. These objects do obviously have a population switch in it. Turn that off real quick. Zoom in here. If you push the O key, those do unpopulate to the point where you don't see the visual object. Now this doesn't remove the actual light emitting property, so it's like you still will have light being emitted by the object, you just won't see the visual object. This does help for people that do have lower system specs to where they would need to turn items off. It does not remove the light emitting property. Even though the visual light is gone and is invisible, the light emitting property is still there. So you can turn those back on. Okay, get out of there. We'll come back to go over a couple of other things. One thing in particular, there is another parameter that you can add to your script to apply color to your lighting itself. And want to clarify, I guess, a little bit how that works. There's it's not applied in this particular script, but there's an RGB that you can use. You can also apply here in the system RGB function to where you can apply RGB values that you can get pretty much from any paint program. They would be the red, green, and blue. Like in this one here, it's got a 129, a 10, and a 30 for this particular color. You can apply those same type of values to your script in here. The only thing that I've come to find, and this is the biggest reason why I don't use it, is that will only change the color that is cast onto the cars, the vehicles themselves on the track. It does not change the ambient, which you can actually control that in Sandbox itself. If you go into the geometry view, when you apply your track lighting options, you can change the RGB values to something similar to what you have RGB values in your script. Sometimes you do have to finagle with those a little bit. Between those two values alone, it does not change how the light is cast. That's one thing to keep in mind when you apply this. You would still have to apply shadows manually to your track to accommodate those RGB values. So in other words, when you apply the RGB value in your script, it'll change how the light appears onto the vehicles, in whichever mod. And as far as the ambient, that should change also in the track lighting options for the track itself. But it will not change the color of the shadow. So the light that's actually cast, you would have to create a manual application to accommodate that color if you want that to apply. So that's this something to keep in mind if you want to apply a different color to the light. The RGB values, if you do apply that function or that parameter into your script. Yeah, that's about as far as I'll go with that. Don't typically use that. I have seen it be used effectively. It's just that it's a lot more labor intensive, I guess, to apply textures, I guess, to accommodate that. You would have to change the color of the actual shadow textures to accommodate those RGB values and the actual light that's cast onto the vehicles, as well as the ambient and the track itself. So I'll leave that at the end user's capabilities or whatever to be able to apply that, and we'll go into that. But that should be a pretty good rundown as far as how to create a light emitting object for use in a track in the NASCAR Racing 2003 simulation. So I hope this video was found useful, and I thank you for watching.